Hello and welcome to the GlideTrak Setup Quick Start Guide. This video should help you learn to set up a client in less than 2 minutes with ease. The first part of the operation is to think about what we're going to do before the client comes. Let's look at your Setup Quick Start Guide, and if you follow this, it'll really help until you really learn how to do the system. Step number 1 says to simply set up the pelvic post and the seat to their center positions. And as you see, it looks here like somebody was very large on the seat before, so we'll put it down to one of the to the center position along the front edge here, using the buttons. Then the saddle assembly looks like it's quite a ways back too, so we'll grab our adjusting tool and we'll go ahead and move the seat into the center of its operating range. That's pretty close. There's not a big, this isn't rocket science. We're basically after the average human pelvis here. So the first step, number 1 on your card, center the seat in the saddle assembly. Step number 2, we take the seat, drop it here, and we'll take the ratchets, as you see here, and pulling the center trigger, lift the ratchet, flatten it out, and give a sharp tug and unwind the ratchet to prepare the seat for the next client. We'll always find the seat with the ratchets wound up a little bit from the last use of a client. At this point, step number 2 is complete, and we're ready to go to step number 3, which involves bringing a client to the treadmill. We have a client who's volunteered here. Hi, Cian.
Hi.
Step aboard, please. And for all clients at all times, we like to set up the shoulder harness assembly slightly behind the client's head. Please place your arms through the shoulder harness. We use the shoulder harness all of the time as an arresting harness to prevent a client from accidentally falling, especially those with more balance challenges. We know now that she's secure and we can use her here. Step 4 is to lift the saddle, to take the top hook and find the right adjusting place for it along the GlideTrak center holes. The proper selection of the hole is very simple. Between the chin and the chest is the neck. Even with the neck, we draw a line straight across, select a hole, and place the hook. The lower strap from the front is simply set 2 holes below the top strap. That's all we need. Then, step 5, we release the saddle to the treadmill deck by just releasing the straps. Once the saddle is on the treadmill deck, we are prepared to allow your client to go to work. However, since some treadmills, like this particular one, will allow the treadmill to elevate, we'll just go ahead and raise it a little bit. If your treadmill will elevate without running, go ahead and elevate it, because it'll give you the ease of adjusting the client a little bit later. So, step number 6, we ask the client to step to the side, spreading her feet, and then slip the saddle assembly up onto the client. If she can hold it, fine. If not, we can hold it. For the lower rear strap, simply select a hole that is level with the client's trochanter. So spinning around, I find this hole is level. It's not that critical if you're too high or too low. The safety strap in the back then simply goes a hole or 2 above to not have any tension at all on it, but just to be there in case there were ever a problem in the lower strap. That's all there is to setting up the GlideTrak seat in the back. The next step, step number 7, is to go ahead and tighten the front straps to set the client's knee height from the ground. So at this point, I'll ask the client to please, if they can, go up on your toes, and that gives me a little extra adjusting room. Back down, please. And now we can use the ratchets as desired to lift the client a little bit higher, starting with the front and the bottom. And then go ahead and sit down into the seat. How's that feel?
Loose.
The seat feels a little bit loose? All right. If you'll raise yourself out of the seat a little bit, Tell me when you feel good. Still loose?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll tighten her up some more. Okay.
Better?
Good. We're a little bit higher then? Great. How's that?
Good.
Great. With the handy screw adjustment system, you can adjust your client in the seat position anytime you'd like, very, very easily. The saddle assembly is correctly placed upon the client's pelvis when the pelvic pad is firmly adjusted or firmly placed against the ASIS or the hip bones. And this client looks very well situated. However, she doesn't have quite enough knee bend, so I'm going to try to lift her up a little bit further. And as you see, we have the pelvic post leaning forward about 5 degrees, which is a very nice position for comfort for most clients. How are you feeling?
Good.
Good? Well, let's go ahead and we'll start this up. Now, ask your client to hold on when you're first starting. And I'll start her at 3 miles an hour because she's healthy. She can hold on to the sides or onto the top. Are you happy with your gait? Can you heel strike?
I sure can.
If the client cannot heel strike, or if you'd like additional weight bearing or to remove weight bearing, simply use the incline and decline features of your treadmill at this point. Some treadmills may automatically shut off without input, so ask your client to adjust the speed periodically, like every 40 seconds or so. Great. I'm going to go ahead and speed this client up in a moment, but first I want to show you, to normalize the gait, we lift their arm, holding the elbows, and ask her to rotate her arms. Lift your other one like a boxer would, or like a runner, please. That's it. So she can normalize her gait, counter-rotate. Now I want your client to look up at a point on the wall or look out a window and imagine herself walking down the road. Or heck, would you like to go for a run?
Yeah.
Let's take a client for performance enhancement instead of gait training. And we'll take her up to about 8 or 9 miles an hour here. Again, I see now looking at my client that the strap here is a little bit tight. So, there we go. And you can see if the client has a problem, she can lift her feet. If she's ready to run again, she can put it back in. She can train with one leg, allowing an effective limb to stay out while she's getting the cardio workout with just one leg. The balance challenges and core challenge are very, very, very potent for your clients at this point. All right, we'll go ahead and shut her down. How was your workout?
Good.
A little short. All right, now we're going to release the client from the GlideTrak. It's very simple. We will move ourselves around to the rear of the GlideTrak, grabbing the safety strap, turn the hook 90 degrees, and take it out. They always need to be turned 90 degrees to be released properly. With a little practice, you'll find it very easy. Then grab the T-handle in your right or left hand, grabbing the saddle assembly with the other part of the hand, and warn the client that I'm about to give you your body weight. Here comes your body weight, pushing the saddle down. Then we go ahead, turning the hook 90 degrees, release it. Finally, the last step, as you'll see here in your card, is to try to push the saddle off of the client. If it's tight, as it is with Cindy here, then we'll go ahead and release the front straps a little bit, just to give us a little bit more room. Shove the saddle off of the client, asking her to separate her feet and drop it to the ground. She is released effectively, and at this point we can drop the safety harnesses, the arresting harness from her body, and take a moment to write down her seat settings, the A, B, C, D on the pelvic pad, and the 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers along the saddle assembly, and you will have her set up for the next time. You also could take a second to count the holes, but for setting her up next time. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on this wonderful session of how to set up a GlideTrak using your QuickStart guide. And I want to remind you again, please use this. Don't look at it and then intuitively go for a setup. This guide will help you practice the correct procedure for putting a client on and off safely and comfortably. Thank you very much for joining us today.